Bernard, how you doing? Ben's not around. I don't know if he fell asleep. I'm guessing he did. He works this crazy schedule. He gets up super early every day, and then sometimes he just he has to sleep early because and then once in a while he just gets into this deep sleep and doesn't wake up. So I did try to get a hold of him a couple times. Didn't hear from him yet. I sent him the invite. Maybe he'll wake up. I'll send him another text. But here you go. Wake up. Send it to him. Done. Okay. Anyway, Bernard, hope you're doing well, man. Other people may be coming in for Friday night. Tonight, I am just drinking H2O. Had some, need to go H2O tonight. I don't know. If Ben comes in, I'm sure he'll have some stuff to say about Rodgers and whatever. I had an interesting question. I got in this discussion. Hey, Rick, how you doing, man? I kind of posed this to people, and I don't understand why people are upset, and why some people in particular, why they're upset with Aaron Rodgers, because he actually, what he's done to this point, I think he's actually, clearly him returning to the Packers and playing would be what's best for the Packers in terms of a chance to win and be really competitive this season. But since that's not going to happen, which I again reiterated to you guys last night, I think what he's doing now is the best thing for the Packers, the best thing for the situation. And I'll explain to you why. So I got in this exchange with some guys, these text, these messenger exchanges, which go kind of crazy sometimes. But people were bagging on Rodgers and some other stuff going around. Oh, I don't buy this. I don't buy this, whatever. And I just said, I don't understand why anyone that doesn't want Rodgers on the team anymore, that wants Rodgers to be traded, that's done with him, that the Packers should just be done with him, and that's where their position is. Why would they be mad at him right now? Because so far, what he's done has barely talked about the situation publicly. He's not bringing it up. He's not throwing more heat at the Packers. He's not doing any of that stuff. He's not causing a big disruption. Number two, this was Goody's plan and Murphy's plan when they drafted Love in the first place. And he's just kind of helping them get to their plan of having Jordan Love be the quarterback and moving on from Aaron Rodgers. He's just helping move that process along. And the other part is, by him not coming to OTAs or minicamp, hey, how you doing, Zero? 16 years of service, all he wants to do is play somewhere else, and the Packers are being selfish. That's one way to look at it. I think, to me, that's something that's getting definitely lost in this is all his time with the Packers. So that just means nothing. That means nothing. I know they paid him. I get it. And other people would be like, well, he made tons of money. Okay, yeah. But come on. The situation is what it is. You drafted the quarterback in the first round. That was the signal. You wanted to move on to him. You wanted to replace the guy. The guy plays awesome. You don't change your plan. You want to stick with this, we're going to see how it goes plan. He doesn't want to be a placeholder for you in 2021 again. So he's standing up for himself. He's doing the only thing he can. And in the process of doing what he can, I'm going to finish this point because, people are getting super mad. And I'm like, look, here are the key factors. I told you that one thing. Also, he's making it easier for the Packers to part ways with him. By taking this stance right now, he has turned a number of fans against him, right? The Packer loyalists, the team only fans are going to take the team side, and the majority of fans will take the team side in the long run anyway. So he's helped turn more fans against him, which has made it easier to part ways, for the Packers to part ways and not take as much heat or backlash, number one. Number two, by not showing up to OTAs or minicamp, he's less of a distraction than if he was there. If all this stuff came out and then he showed up, that would be a bigger distraction than him not being there. And in the process of not being there, Jordan Love gets a whole bunch more work, and the Packers get a much longer look at Jordan Love. And Rob Domofsky was on with Rich Eisen recently too. He said the same thing. He said he's been covering the Packers for almost 25 years, or this is his 25th year covering the Packers. Usually in OTAs and minicamp, quarterbacks will get, the first team quarterback can get 5-6 reps, second team quarterback get 4 or 5 reps, third and fourth get 2 to 3 reps. But in this minicamp, in like these 11-on-11 drills, Jordan Love got 16 reps in a row, 15 reps in a row, 12 reps in a row in some stints. That never happened in 25 years. So the Packers are getting a long look at Jordan Love because Aaron Rodgers is not there. So he's actually, by him not being there, I'm not saying he's doing all this to help the Packers out. I don't think he is, and I don't think that's the intent necessarily. But with him not being there, it is helping the Packers out to evaluate Love, see what he's got, see where he's at, and get a good long look at him in practice. And the final point is he doesn't want to be with the organization and return to the organization. I talked about it last night, how it's that breach of trust. Andrew Brandt mentioned it in his interview as well. And when the trust is gone, yeah, I think he's been burned too many times with the front office and Mark Murphy in particular. And so that's done. And on top of all of that, for people who are mad at Rodgers and want to see the team move on, want to see, them take a different approach offensively, want the lower price tag for a quarterback so they can spend more money on other guys, fine. I get that approach. That's fine. But for that crowd, Aaron Rodgers is also giving you what you want. So what do you have to bag on him for? What do you have to be mad at him for? What do you got to hate on him? All those things I just mentioned were beneficial to the Packers in this situation. I don't know. So why people that keep bagging on him, I don't get it. All right. Bernard hates Nagler. Don't hate Nagler, Bernard. It's okay. I told you about Nagler. The thing with Nagler is he was a Favre guy, right? So when the Packers transitioned to Rodgers from Favre, Nagler held that against Rodgers the whole time. And yeah, he did like a lot of Packers fans that were Favre lovers, where they were probably really against Rodgers in the beginning. Then, 3 years in, he helps the team win the Super Bowl and plays great in the Super Bowl. And then plays awesome. And they start coming around him. They're like, okay, all right, sure. I got it. Yeah, we'll take this guy. But they were quick to turn on him. If he had a down season, if he had a bad game, if he did something out of line, stepped out of line once, quick to, point that out, quick to build this negative narrative about him. And then on top of that, they were also quick to turn on him really hard in this situation and just be ready to move on. Now, keep in mind, Nagler and some of these others were cheering and super excited about the Jordan Love pick. Nagler had live coverage and he was selling. Let's go. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Let's do it. They were all excited. That's fine. I hope Jordan Love is good. I hope he has great success with the Packers. For the majority of the fans' sake, for the other players, and for the team, I hope all that happens. But I'm in no way am I going to be like Aaron Nagler was about Aaron Rodgers to Jordan Love. In no way will I do that. No, I want Jordan Love to be good. But I also want Aaron Rodgers to have an opportunity to go play football for an organization that wants him as well and give him a fresh start, but let him continue to play football. The Packers made it clear they didn't want to keep him as their quarterback. They no longer wanted him as their quarterback. That's why they made the move. In today's NFL, it's not like in 2005 where a guy could sit for 3 years without playing. He's got to play second year, maybe third year at the latest. And that's what the Packers were banking on with Love being so young and so raw. But hey, throw him in there this year. See how it goes. All right. Let's see. 0. If Rodgers sits for a year, sorry, I'm a little late on these. His trade value will plummet. Missing a year of football is a lifetime. True, but um, he's a different kind of cat. He knows how to train. He knows his body. He knows, all those things that make him really special and really great. A lot of it's mental too. So I don't think he's going to all of a sudden fall off a cliff or have a big dip in trade value. And actually, speaking of that, what's interesting about the trade opportunities right now versus trade opportunity next year is that the whole point is mostly what would the Packers get in return to be draft picks, and they're also thinking, okay, well, if we get draft picks and we trade them now, we don't get to do anything with those draft picks for a year, right? So there's no instant return. And the other challenge is they could trade and get a draft picks now. And those draft picks might look like, let's say it's Denver, who had a very high draft pick this year, but if Rodgers goes to their team and they win a bunch of games and end up being a late first round draft pick for next year, then it's not as good of a draft pick, right? So that's the other thing. That's the argument Rob Demovsky was making in terms of saying Rodgers likely won't be traded until 2022, and the Packers would be content to have him sit if he doesn't want to return to the team. So I don't know. I mean, for me, you might be able to get a player this year too that could help you potentially. I mean, I think the Packers need to be open to this. And the only, here's the flip side to that. So you're taking the risk on trading now because that pick might become less valuable by next year if Rodgers goes to a team and tears it up and the team does really well. But also, if you already had a whole bunch of teams draft, quarterbacks this year, so they're all out of the running now. You could have more teams that might have a quarterback opening, but might be looking at some of these young quarterbacks coming out in the next crop and really want to get one of them. And that could take even more teams out of it. So I don't know. I don't know what the best case scenario is for the Packers, I think. But what I would say is, hey, if you get a good trade offer, come on. The guy played for you for 16 years. Give him the nod. Let him go play somewhere else. Take what you can get. That's a good trade offer. If he goes and tears it up and the picks get, less valuable, well, you're still going to get a number of picks. So I don't know. I would do it for multiple reasons. And I'd push for a player that could fill a void and help out this year. Maybe an inside backer, maybe another D lineman, maybe another offensive lineman. They like a bunch of offensive linemen coming in, so get another one in there. See if you can get some more competition at camp. Rick says, if management wants to play it like this, it's all business, fine. That's their choice, but then don't be surprised when players do the same. Yeah. I'm serious. Guys will say he's being a baby or this or that. He's just standing up for himself in this situation. We are not privy to all the details that happened. But I laid it out last night, and I know Ben was in the chat kind of giving me a hard time about how I was saying I didn't believe that Murphy said that at one point, and I didn't actually believe it until I kept seeing more and more from Murphy, and I kept seeing more and more about this, and I was like, you know what? I could see Murphy saying it. I don't think he was justified in saying it. I don't think he was right, but I could see him, that guy, saying it. And isn't Mark Murphy kind of like the sneakiest person in this scenario? Nobody thinks to come after him. Nobody thinks to give him heat. Nobody thinks he could be everybody was on Goody, right? And I was on Goody too. And maybe that's part of, maybe Mark Murphy plays this goofball kind of guy next door character. And maybe he secretly is this manipulative genius. I don't know. I don't know, man. But somehow he's kept all the attention off him. Goody's taking all the heat. Rodgers is taking heat. But like I said last night, when a bunch of these other decisions were made where players weren't given contracts that were valuable, they moved on from all this sort of stuff, guys that Rodgers really enjoyed playing with, respected, trusted, cared about. Goody was there, but he wasn't the man in charge. And Murphy was there. Murphy was at the top, team president that time, all that whole time. So who's pulling the strings here? Could it be Mark Murphy pulling all the strings and we just all been duped by his farmer guy display that he puts on? Really? That could be it. That could be the whole thing. All right. Anyway, he's got a temper, makes rash decisions, has an ego. All that's been on record, and I think he got involved in this case too. Mom says, hey, Mom, do you really think if Green Bay gets a good pick for Rodgers that they won't screw that pick up too? I don't know. I did give Goody some credit. He has done a pretty good job drafting. I'm going to say that. I mean, 2020 was like totally off base. I don't know if the players, it's not that the players aren't going to be good. I think he reaches at times for players he really likes, and that's a lot of GMs do that. But as far as the players making an impact right away, that doesn't happen very often. So, and that's an interesting discussion too. That's why I was hoping Ben was going to be on, because I wanted to get his thoughts on that. I wanted to talk through that scenario, and I'll talk through it with you guys if Ben doesn't wake up and make it on here. But I will say, Goody, in terms of drafting players that actually have some value and are maybe even starting caliber, he's done a pretty good job overall in his time as the head guy drafting players. Where he falls short is all of the other duties of a general manager. He's done a terrible job with free agent signings, and he's done a terrible job at managing the team and managing the players that he needs to manage, AKA, or for example, e.g., this Aaron Rodgers situation. He has not managed it well. Now, perhaps that's because he is Murphy's patsy. Maybe that's one of the reasons he was given the job. Maybe that's one of the reasons Matt LaFleur, soft-spoken young coach, was given the job. So Murphy could keep those guys in their places, and he's the guy on top. That's as reasonable of a scenario as I've heard from anybody. And I just made it. Yeah. Does it make sense to you? I don't know. So yeah, but I mean, the free agent signings have been terrible by Goody, right? And then some of the draft picks, again, it's not about the talent of the draft picks. It's about the positions drafted, where they were drafted, when they were drafted, at the time they were drafted. Didn't always make sense for him. That was kind of the question mark. But in terms of him evaluating talent and drafting players that can play, I think he does a pretty good job at that. You know, for example, the free agent signings not mixing with the draft. No other better example than, hey, you sign Darius Smith, Preston Smith in the same offseason, and then as your highest pick in forever at 12, you draft the same position guy in Rashawn Gary. And then everybody thinks Rashawn Gary stinks. Hey, Ben, I figure you're sleeping. You want to jump in? I want to have this conversation with you. So if you can get in here and you feel okay, I want to talk to you about some things with the Packers not getting impact from rookies, but a lot of it is because they don't end up playing those guys. And Mike Smith made some interesting comments recently too I wanted to talk about. And it all kind of all relates to Rashawn Gary and some of these other guys. So I think these guys have talent, but they just don't get to play. So who's at fault for that? Is it the GM or is it the coaching staff? I mean, it's weird. Most teams in the NFL, especially with their top picks, those guys play because they need them to make an impact for the team to be substantially better that year, right? They invested high draft capital in these players. Those players need to be on the field, and they need to. No, I'm sorry. I don't know what no means, what that's response to. It came through too late. But anyway, the point is, I don't know why the Packers look at it so differently. But all these other teams are like, hey, this guy's talented. This guy's got to get on the field. Let's put him in there. It's first round pick in there. Second round pick. Let's go. Third round pick. Come on. Contribute. Some of the other guys might step up in camp that are lower round picks, and then they get some playing time too, or maybe they emerge. But, those top guys that you draft have to help the team immediately while they're cheap, while they're inexpensive. It doesn't mean you grind them for 90% of the snaps right away, but it does mean, dang it, they better be out there a lot. They better be out there 60, 70% of the time. Maybe more if they can handle it, if you think they can handle it. Depends on what position too. Certain positions, it's easier to play a heavier snap load than others, stuff like that. So I do think it's really intriguing, that whole question. I don't know if Ben's not coming on or not feeling up for it because he just woke up. Oh, Double Doink says, turn the camera on, Ben. We don't care if you're in your PJs. Come on, Ben. I want to talk to you about this because it's really interesting. Mike Smith said some weird stuff, and I wonder what Ben thinks about it, and I wonder what you guys think about it. So I'm trying to wait for Ben. I got a couple other quick notes here. Already mentioned the thing about that before Ben got here. I mentioned how I gave Goody some credit for pretty good drafts, or good drafts in some cases, but again, the free agent signings don't line up. They've all been pretty much bad. I'll name them off: Kirksey, Wagner, Jimmy Graham, Preston Smith, Amos, Za'Darius Smith. Some of those guys did well at times. What do you guys think about, speaking of that list, what do you guys think about Adrian Amos? There's a whole bunch of people now that are trying to say Adrian Amos is like a top flight safety. Now, I don't know what you think about that. Ben said it before about how Adrian Amos is just kind of like, he's a solid player, but he just doesn't seem to be that impactful, right? Ben called him, he's just another guy, is kind of how he comes across, right? But Adrian Amos, he signed for big money. Now he restructured for less money this year, but does he really feel, when you think about safeties across the league, does he really feel to you like a top-notch safety? And if he does, or if you think there's more to his game than what we're seeing, was that part of the way that Mike Pettin used him versus his talents or his skill level? Like maybe Mike Pettin wasn't quite using him right. I don't know. Those are the things to think about. To me, he's solid, but not a top safety, not a guy that I'd be like, whoa, Packers have one of the best safety tandems in the league, which some people are trying to say or tout, and that's putting a lot on Savage and his potential. Now he definitely was better in year 2 versus year 1, but do you think Savage and Amos are like a top safety tandem? Tell me if you do. Tell me if you do.
I don't know.
Ben, what do you think?
I don't know.
You don't know? Okay. Let's see. Zero says, yep. Oh, wait, I'm trying to get caught up here. Let's see. Rick says Amos, give him maybe a solid B. I think that's about the best grade you'd probably give him. But man, Nagler and some of these other guys are raving. Like Amos is great. He's an amazing top flight safety. I don't get it.
What are they comparing him to?
I don't know.
Clinton Dix, dude.
Well, no, but you got to compare him to other You got to compare him to other safeties in the league, right? I mean, when you're talking about him being one of the top safeties, you're comparing to other safeties across the league. Can you name 5 safeties in the league better than Adrian Amos?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then to me, he's not top flight. I don't know. Who's on your short list for better safeties than Amos? I just don't get that one. He doesn't have a lot of interceptions. He did lead the team in tackles last year, which is, great. But Clinton Dix had seasons where he had 70 some 80 tackles and he was terrible. So getting 80 tackles as a safety isn't that hard to do, especially when your team's on the field a lot and you got to play a lot of snaps. So let's see. Okay, I'm gonna go through a couple of chat things here to get caught up. Let's see. Rick says, is it any one person or the team's whole philosophy continue to be the emphasis for high RAS score guys that can't make plays? I think they can make plays. I think there's talent. That RAS thing is definitely part of the Packers track record in terms of draft picks. I just think I don't get it, Ben. Why don't the Packers seem to play many of their rookies very many snaps?
I don't know.
Okay. Anybody else know?
But I'll tell you this: it's not like it's anything new. McCarthy didn't do it either. So
right.
I don't. It doesn't make sense to me. Every other team in the NFL, like they get a guy and they play him because they need him. Because they like, hey, guess what? They got a hole, or hey, guess what? This guy's making plays. Let's get him in there, or whatever it is. I mean, look at the key thing is look at last year's NFC Championship game. There were first year, second year players all over the Tampa Bay defense making plays. And the Packers had they had Savage, who at least got he blitzed and caused a pick, and Rashawn Gary was in there trying to make some plays, but getting held left and right, but they don't call it ever. But it's one of those things. Those guys are both second year players. I mean, Savage started his whole rookie year, well, except for when he was hurt.
Right. Savage is kind of the exception at this point.
But it's and Elton Jenkins, he started his whole rookie year.
Only because there was an injury.
Yeah, but he started the whole year.
Right, but only because there was an injury. They weren't planning on that.
The biggest problem is what we've said for years and years now. They take these guys and I don't understand. They value this veteran leadership for a player who's not that great, right? And then they keep him on the team, and then they have players younger who are better, but they don't give him a chance. And they spend all these years on the bench, wasting their young, cheap years. It's the dumbest thing I've ever. That's why whenever I hear the draft and develop, we're draft and develop, we're draft and develop. It's always the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. Because you're wasting 2 or 3 years of a guy's ability to get on the field for an older player who has less ability, costs more money, and the result on the field is either the same as it would be with the younger player, or in some cases worse, because they can't make the play like this. Here's the thing that bothers me the most. All I hear is Will Redmond is the number 3 safety who's coming in the game. That's all I've heard over the last this week.
Oh, please.
Does everybody remember Will Redmond? See, people remember the Kevin King screw up at the end of the game that caused the touchdown. But they forget that Will Redmond could have easily picked off a ball right before that. But he didn't aggressively go for it. Like, he didn't realize the ball. I don't know what he was doing. He could have easily picked off a pass right, like either the play or 2 plays before the touchdown that Kevin King gave up. And I've said this a million times. They play these guys like Billy Turner. And I know everybody loves Mercedes Lewis, but listen, the guy is a liability athletically. Maybe he's an awesome guy and a good leader on the team. But when he's on the field, I would rather have Daphne or
Hmm.
Sternberger or what's his face, Taguara, or anybody. Because when they get their hands on the ball, they make a play. And I've shown you the blocking of Mercedes Lewis. It is not what everybody says it is. Everybody keeps saying how great he's a top five, top blocker. He's almost another tackle out there. No, he's not. He's not almost another tackle out there. And these are the things that bother me. Because if you're going to be, they keep saying this draft and develop crap, and that's great, but it seems like they're always developing and never getting anything out of it or on the field until it's too late. Then you got to decide if we're going to pay this guy or let him go. It's dumb.
Nick Perry style, right? Nick
What if,
Perry
yeah,
style. All you gotta do is have one sort of good year before your contract's up, and then we'll sign him back if you're a first.
yeah, but that's different because Nick Perry saw the field and he didn't produce.
Yeah, that's true.
We're talking about guys who
You,
like
you're
this
right.
year. Amari Rogers better get on the dang field right away
Yeah,
and make
right.
plays. He better. I don't care. They don't have that guy on the team, so they need him out there to make a play. And if he's not out there because Devin Funches is out there, who is a veteran who just showed up and all of a sudden now they're going to give him plays. I don't understand. And then, and the other thing is the big quote they keep saying, well, Matt LaFleur said Devin Funches, he looks the part. Well,
Yeah.
what the hell does that mean?
I don't know.
So he's a tall receiver who looks big and tall.
Yep.
Okay, that's what I heard about him. Okay, that's what Matt LaFleur said.
Just like all of our other guys that we got out there that, for Alan Lazard and okay, so he's a little bit bigger than MBS, but he's tall and long. And okay, I mean, can we get a different kind of guy in there? Because that's kind of what we've been missing for a while now. One interesting thing, Ben, to follow that up, which you mentioned the draft and develop. By not playing or giving these young guys a chance to get significant reps in practice and actually see game reps, you're slowing their development, right? You don't let them develop.
Yep.
So what? I don't get it. Yeah, it's like you're talking out of both sides again, and the plan doesn't follow the plan. I don't get it sometimes. But anyway, all right. Let me go ahead. I'm sorry. Then I got one.
I was going to say, even within the last couple of years, or the last 4 years, when a guy comes in and he makes a play in the game, like a dynamic play, and then you don't see him for a while, like he doesn't get back in the game, or he doesn't get back again for 2 or 3 games. And this brings you to Aaron Jones for the first 2 years of his of his career. Everybody knew, every Packer fan is screaming for more Aaron Jones. Yet the Packers don't play him. Now that's a McCarthy problem. But the same thing with Robert Tonyan.
Mm-hmm.
Every time he was out there, he caught the ball and it was a big play. But they would still play Jimmy Stupid Graham over the top of him. And last year, Runyon Bunyan, when he was in there, he did great. But they would still play Rick Wagner and Billy Turner ahead of him, which I would rather give Runyon Bunyan a shot at tackle and see if he could handle it. Because he looked pretty good when he was in there at guard. But they don't do it. And that's the biggest problem. Because all the guys they are playing, Will Redmond, Billy Turner, Rick Wagner last year, Christian Kirksey,
yeah, another one.
What's his face? Lowry instead of Kiki. Redmond instead of anybody.
Right.
Name a guy. Those guys are all veterans who don't make plays. And all you hear is, well, they know they always know they always know what's going on. They know what's going on. They know what to do. Okay, they know what to do, but they never do it. So, and then when you see the young guys come in, maybe they screw up a couple times, right?
Yeah.
But then they make a play, which is something those other guys never do. So would you rather have a guy who makes a play every now and again, or have it, or like maybe 20% of the time he makes a play, 10% of the time he screws up, and then 70% of the time he just kind of does what a regular guy would do, or you got a guy who 100% of the time knows what's going on, but never does anything. That helps the team actually win. He's just kind of there. He tackles the guy after he catches it and gets 10 yards, or he barely blocks his guy for a second, which maybe Aaron Jones can squeeze through, or maybe the guy can catch it, but he falls out of space right after he catches it, like a tight end, whatever, Mercedes or Jimmy Graham or whatever. And that's the biggest difference. Take Jimmy Graham out of that NFC Championship game against 49ers, put in Rashawn Gary instead of a couple of those other yahoos, and at least he would have tried.
Yeah.
Hanya would have caught that one pass where Jimmy Graham just straight up dropped it on that third down. Remember when the Packers had like 6 drives in a row that were 3 and outs or whatever it was that one game?
Yeah.
And right. we went over it. It was 2 years ago. I know. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm done talking. I'm sorry. I'm sleepy and I don't know what I'm talking about half the time. But what I'm saying is it's a bunch of crap. And it's ridiculous that every other team when you watch, like Chase Claypool, get him in the game. And the Steelers put him in the game. 2nd round pick, throw him in there. He's awesome. Right? DK Metcalf, drafted him a 2nd round a couple of years back. He's like a freaking superstar. Packers have guys, they draft the 2nd round, and he sits on the bench for 25 years. A.J. Dillon comes in the game, runs all over the place. It's 3rd and 1, and they put Aaron Jones in there behind a bunch of guys who don't block anybody, and he gets creamed. And they're like, wow, maybe we should have put that 250-pound guy, just let him run right up the freaking defense. But I don't know. That might have helped. But they don't do it. And they don't use the right guys in the right situations. And it drives you nuts as a Packer fan. But I don't want to be all negative about it. But it's true. It's dumb. Okay, I'm done.
Well, here's the thing, right? It's interesting is Mike Smith was talking. This was, I think, last week or the week before. Mike Smith is the outside linebackers coach. Okay. Seems like a really cool dude. He was a good friend of Mike Pettin. So when they let Pettin go, he was like, yeah, it was tough on me, but he answers questions straightforward. He seems like he's a good guy, all this sort of stuff. And, they were talking to him about Rashawn Gary and he came out and he said, cause they asked him, well, Rashawn got some more playing time last year and look, he made an impact and he looked good. And he had, as the season went on, he looked to make even stronger. His play was stronger. He was better at the point of attack. He was, bull rushing guys. He was getting moves on guys, more consistent pressure, all of that. And he just said, well, they're like, what do you expect from him now? And he's like, yeah, I really think he's going to take that jump from year 2 to year 3 and really make a big impact. And then you hear Zadarius Smith in his interview just this week saying, yeah, Rashawn's going to be a dominant player for us this year. This is his 3rd year. The guy was the 12th overall pick. Why is it taking him to his 3rd year to finally get a chance to show that he can be a dominant player? And Matt LaFleur also said, ever since the first day he came in here, he's working hard. He's giving great effort, all this sort of stuff. And when you heard LaFleur after games talk about the defense's lack of effort, why wasn't there a mandate for a guy who gives good effort to be on the field more? Especially when he's super talented, the number 12 pick, and showing up the 2 high-price free agents that you paid a bunch of money for. But then Mike Smith, in his answer, also talked about, he's like, well, these young guys, you got to move them along slower. You got to have a plan for them, or you kind of overwhelm them, or he didn't say burn them out, but it was similar to that. And I'm just thinking, like, he's a 20-something-year-old kid. How are you going to burn him out? Mentally at outside linebacker, it's going to be too taxing for him. Like, come on, at certain positions, okay, where there's a heavy mental load, I get it, not wanting to thrust too much on the guy early on. But defensive line, outside linebacker, most defensive positions, really, come on, it's a reactive thing, right? You have a role in the defense, sure, but you're playing off a reaction. And especially if you're on the line, hey, it's being physical, it's being aggressive and doing your job, but also making sure that you can find a way to make an impact. How does that guy at that position, why is that the approach? And is that just a problem with the coaching staff across the board that they don't want to put too much on these guys' plates? Got to have a plan for him. A plan. What is that plan? Find a way to not get him in the game? Is that the plan? Especially when after the season, when your GM is asked about if he has any regrets, he specifically comes out and says that all the draft picks didn't get much playing time. They had limited opportunities. So what does that tell you between the coaching staff and the general manager? He's saying publicly the guys he drafted didn't give him any opportunities. We've talked about kind of this disconnect before. I don't know. What do you guys make of all that? It just seems, it again goes back to seeming like the Packers don't have a plan. And if that's the case, I don't know. They're doing pretty good for not having a plan, but it still worries me long term. What do you think about that, Ben? Outside linebacker, you got to take him along slow. Got to have a plan for that guy. Can't
First of
rush.
all, the position that Rashawn Gary plays is not outside linebacker.
I know it's
it's defensive end. Because they never once ever drop back and cut. The only guy who does is Preston Smith, and we know he shouldn't. So it's dumb that he ever does. But they're not playing outside linebacker like Wayne Simmons did. Of course that was a 4-3. But even Clay Matthews, did he ever really drop back and like once or twice a game? Every other play he's rushed the quarterback. I mean, it's not really outside linebacker. It's not like TJ Watt who's out there doing all kinds of crazy stuff. No. So it's not like a mentally taxing position, even when he's a rookie. Just put him out there and have him run at the quarterback a couple times, mess some stuff up. I mean, that's one of the things that, like, I listen to Chris Sims or whatever. You can think of him whichever you want, but he always talks about Jadeveon Clowney, and he's like, Jadeveon Clowney doesn't fill the stat sheet. He just goes out there and messes crap up, and that's if that was a stat, mess the play up, he'd have like the highest numbers of mess the play up, in the mess the play up stat, whatever it would be, where he just goes out there and just does crazy crap, messes everybody up, and the next thing you know, the quarterback is running for his life and he's throwing a ball away or whatever, you know what I mean? Or running back gets tackled, maybe not by him because he broke through the line and screwed up the whole blocking system. Somebody else made a play, but he was there and like destroyed the play. He like messed up all the timing. And that's really all it is on the defensive line. And that's what those guys play is defensive line because they don't go back and cover ever. It's no surprise. So the whole development, this and that, I don't care how dumb you are. Greg Lloyd just ran at the quarterback and he was fine. I mean, we bring it up all the time. Why Rashawn Gary should have been in there the whole time, but the problem was they just signed two guys. It was a dumb draft pick. That's the bottom line. They keep drafting guys after they sign guys to fill the position. And the only time that it was fine was Savage because, they needed more than one safety because they screwed up so many times in a row before that by letting guys go or drafting guys that sucked or whatever the case was. And they still are sorry at safety, after those two.
Yeah.
As far as we know. But I mean, if Will Redmond is your guy, you're going to play next. I'm not convinced that's a good plan. It's nothing new. So, and the other thing is, you draft guys, and I know like Josh Jones hasn't had a career that is good, right? Like we know that he went to Jaguars and he played for the Jaguars last year, the year before, or whatever it was. Right. We played against them last year, and I don't even know if he's in the game. I think he might have been hurt. I didn't remember seeing him. I don't know what they're doing with him. They were playing him at like free safety, deep free safety, which is not where you should be playing him. I keep going back to that Bengals game. I don't know. I think it was his rookie year where he had like 20 tackles and he had like 2 tackles for a loss and he was breaking up plays and he was playing around the line of scrimmage in like a slot, like a Charles Woodson kind of position where he was just everywhere making plays against the Bengals. He won the game for him on a 3rd down and 1 or 4th and 1. He broke in there and made the tackle and he was awesome. And then you never heard from him again. You never saw him again. And then they go and draft and they sign Amos and they draft Savage and then he's all whiny and he wants out of town and then they got rid of him and whatever, right? But that's kind of what I'm talking about, where you had a young player who came in there and had an insane game that I remember,
Mm-hmm.
and then they never did anything with him again. And that was Mike. That was Mike Pettin as defense coordinator, I think, or it could have been Dom Kippers. I don't know how long ago that was. I guess who was? Well, that was the Kevin King year, right?
I
Yeah,
can't remember, but you're
I
right.
think
It
it was.
was they had
But
they kind of they found a way where he could be impactful, and then they never used him like that again. It was like, isn't that what you're supposed to do? Is maximize, like, identify what your players are good at and put them in those positions to be impactful? That's
yeah,
coaching, right? I mean, that's game plan and coaching. Come on,
but it was one of those things where, I mean, it's just like I said, like AJ Dillon has that huge game against Tennessee,
right?
and then the next game he gets like 2 carries.
Jamal Williams is back. We gotta keep him in there. And I
Right.
like Jamal Williams, but come on, that guy just flashed for you. Give him some more carries.
And then the NFC Championship game this last year, if Aaron Jones wouldn't have got hurt, we would have never seen AJ Dillon. And then the last 3 plays of the game, where it was, Rodgers throwing to a guy, Lazard, who thought he was going to block on the play because it was supposed to be a run, and then 2 more passes that didn't go nowhere. Instead of running the damn ball inside when you're on the 8-yard line, you know, that's dumb.
Yep.
Now, part of that's Rodgers. I know you don't want to hear me say that, but it's true. But the other part is get the guy in the freaking game, and when he's in there, use him. Same thing with Runyon Bunyan. Same thing with all this stuff. But who knows? This year, it sounds like Royce Newman. They want him on the field. They've been playing him at right tackle, right guard, left guard. He's been in there with the first team all over the goddamn place, trying to see if he's. Apparently, they love a mullet. They got to have a mullet on the team, on the starting lineup. They're trying to do whatever they can to get him out there somehow. I mean, that's fine if he starts over Billy Turner at right tackle. Fine, he's probably better. I'll give it to him.
Does it rival like Tony Mandrich's mullet, or what? Is better or the same?
It's way better. Tony Mandrick
Okay.
was weird.
Yeah, it was bad.
Because he had
well,
like the whole shaved head all the way around, except for the little bit of mullet in the back,
right.
and that was a really bad look.
Yeah.
He was going bald from all the steroids. It was a weird for a 20-year-old guy or whatever he was with the bald head on top and tiny little mullet. It was in the giant bulk.
Yep, the bulk. Well, this last year was one of the first years that they drafted for need, early on, like early rounds. So yeah, I mean, Myers is going to be a starter, and Stokes might even end up being a starter at this rate. Which again is a really, you had to sign that Kevin King back before the draft, and then you draft a corner in the first round. I don't know, figure it out. But Stokes could start. Myers is going to start. You got other guys that are gonna get some playing time out of this year's draft class because they had holes. Now maybe the mullet guy is going to be in there. Who knows? So there you go. Right? That's it. Oh, Amari Rodgers. He better play too a lot. There you go. Right? So hopefully hopefully that becomes the trend for the future drafts as well, where they draft players that they actually intend to put into significant playing time right away while they can, maximize their talent at a low cost and, see if they're, really are guys they want to have long-term and keep on the team, give a second contract to, and all that good stuff. You would think that helps your planning financially too for the future, right? If hey, we're targeting these guys to stay on the team, and so we need this money here, this money there, all that sort of stuff. Let's see. Zero says the disconnect part was LaFleur is an analytics guy, and that's the disconnect, he says, which could be valid.
It could be. But if he's that big of a analytics guy, how is it that he doesn't even know what running backs on the team or on the field when he calls a play? Because he often said that. Because when he was asked why Aaron Jones wasn't in the game more, and he's like, "Oh, we just called the plays. We don't know who's that." Like, really? If you're an analytics guy, you would know. Oh, well, when this guy's on the field, this play works best with him. This play works best with him. When it's 3rd and 1, let's get the 250-pound guy. That analytics tells me his movement of inertia of giant-sized man moving forward is harder to stop than a tiny little man moving forward. I don't know. That's the stat that I would think he would know about, but apparently he doesn't.
Yeah, it's interesting. I still think that's kind of weird. I mean, I know you got to trust your coaching staff and all of that, but putting position coaches in charge of each position's rotations and playing time to me is a little bit much. That's a little bit too much control away from you if you're the head coach.
Well, the other thing is like
You
usually you like when you think about the best teams, and even he said this year, this couple of weeks ago, or whatever, a couple of days ago, whatever it was, where he wanted to get this year we got to get Robert Tunyon the ball more. Okay, that means you're going to call a play for Robert Tunyon, right? Well, you would want to know that he's in the game, and you call the play for that guy. You don't just willy nilly call a play and then he's in there. That seems to be what they do, which makes or some of the time. I mean, I'm sure like they're not going to call a jet sweep for Lazard, well, even though they do sometimes, which they shouldn't. But like you call that for MVS, or you call it for Amari Rogers now this year, right? That's what you should call the jet sweep for. But you would think that you would be in when you make that play call, you want to make that play call, you're on the headset and you're like, okay, we're calling this play. That means we're getting the ball to this guy, period. And hopefully we'll see more of that this year because I think that was just a lack over the last couple of years. I think it got better last year though, because I mean there were specific things called for Aaron Jones and called for mostly for Adams, which hopefully they don't throw to Adams 100 million times like they did last year.
I kind of like you should fall asleep before shows more often. I think this is a good version of you. Rick says, especially when personnel should match the situation, like tired, cranky Ben said. We got to go back to Double Doink. He's got a question on thoughts on Devondre Campbell for $3.5 million. I mean, they need more guys at inside linebacker for sure. Right? So, yeah, I think it's a good signing. He's a veteran guy. He's at least played. He was the leading tackler for Atlanta in 18 and 19. So, yeah, I mean, give him a shot. Seems like a good dude. Seems like he's happy to be here and more inside guys. That's a position you needed to create some more competition at. So, yeah, I'm glad they signed him.
Yeah, but from what I hear, he's not the best in coverage, and he's not that fast.
I got Ty Summers for that.
Well, okay, here's another guy in his way of playing time, Jace. Watch, he won't even play now.
They're gonna Kirksey him like last year. Come on.
Well, yes. And it's gonna be another thing again, where here's a young guy who just get him out there. But now you sign another guy who's this guy. You know who this guy is? He's the Mercedes Lewis of linebackers.
Oh, okay.
He's gonna be. He's 6'4". He'll get you some tackles, maybe. I don't know. I don't know anything about him. I just know from what I hear from. I can't remember if it was Andy Herman or if it was the John Meerdink guy or whoever it was. One of these guys was talking about him being signed, and they said he's not particularly great in coverage. He's not the greatest tackler in the world. He gets some tackles. He's an okay guy. Like he's there. I want to dive. Maybe it was Andy Herman. He's like, I want to dive more into him, see what's up. But at this point, he seems like a good player, and he's going to be on the team because of his contract now at 2-3 million, whatever it is, as opposed to some other guys who are making that much. But is he really going to be an impact player? Is he going to do more than what Kamal Martin and or Ty Summers and or Chris Barnes would do?
That's a good point.
I don't know.
If it keeps Ty Summers off the field, it's a bad signing.
It's going to.
Then it's a bad signing. No, the coaches have already shown they don't necessarily play guys that Goody projects that they should play. So I don't know. Here, let's see. Zero made a point. He says He thinks this year is going to expose LaFleur as a head coach, and Mom agrees. I don't think so. I think this is a year that LaFleur is going to have to be on his game. He's going to have to be on top of all the stuff going on with the offense. He's going to have to be smart about the way he approaches, the game plans, but also just situationally with stuff, because he's got to understand he's got to understand his offensive line this year. I said it last night. Who the Packers choose to keep and play is going to be a huge factor into their success this year. And it's going to be the biggest factor as to whether Jordan Love is going to be successful or have a really rough year. So,
well, I mean,
it's right.
you don't want to hear this, but I
okay. How do you know
honestly, because I honestly believe that the Packers offense will be better with Jordan Love at quarterback. Not because he's better than Aaron Rodgers, but because LaFleur will have to start calling plays for guys, and that will in turn make it a better team and a better play. And they won't have the Devontae Adams factor, hopefully getting thrown to 75,000 times a game. And that's all I can say. And your people are like, well, you're insane. You're the dumbest thing I ever heard, Ben. Yeah, I'm an idiot. Fine.
No, you're not.
Jordan Love in practice, he can't complete a pass. He's dumping the ball off all the time and blah blah blah. But all I heard was on the 70-yard play that he did, or 70-play drive that he did on Wednesday's practice, he had a wheel route that he completed to AJ Dillon, and he had another one he completed to Aaron Jones down the field on that drive. He threw to like a bunch of different guys on that drive.
Mm-hmm.
He also threw, and then the touchdown was to Lazard. And he had another receiver that he threw a pass to in there, and another guy. And it was a bunch of different guys. And can you say that about Aaron Rodgers over the last couple of years? It seems like he's just going he just looks at Devontae constantly. When the chips are down,
that's true.
He looks at his one guy, and that was the problem in the NFC Championship game.
Yeah.
More often than not, he was like, "Oh, we need this play. I'm going to wait for Devontae to get open, and he's going to catch it." No, run the freaking play, and get the ball and spread it around. Remember all the years when, as much as Brett Favre was a ding dong half the time, he would have games where he's throwing to 9 different guys, and you're like, some Yahoo coming off the bench you never heard of, and he's throwing a freaking pass to him, and he catches it, and they move the ball, and they score points because the defense doesn't know where the ball's going to go next, and they're like, ah. But when you throw the ball to Devontae Adams more than twice as much as the next 2 guys combined, that's a problem, and that's an Aaron Rodgers problem.
Well, you're right. I mean, Rodgers didn't always play like that up until recently.
He didn't.
Right. And so, and he used to throw it everywhere. Remember, Spencer Havener was all of a sudden coming on at tight end one year, and like these other guys. I mean, he used everybody too for the longest time. And then just in recent years, it had really come to that. And he started to get more distribution at times, but then, like you said, when it was like, hey, we need a play, you knew he was going to Tay. And he knew it. Tay knew it. The defense probably knew it. And a lot of times they made plays. They made really difficult plays in those situations. But sometimes they didn't. And whereas, like you showed, I mean, if you had kind of looked at the read and looked at the whole field, or went through progressions specifically, you might have found a different guy that was open and gotten him the ball, and could have been a different result. So, yeah, I totally get what you're saying. The one thing I'm telling you is, I mean, I raised this last night. I'm telling you, who the Packers pick on the offensive line is going to matter. Who they choose to play. If they really are going to if they're really going to stick with Billy Turner, and they're also really going to stick with hey, let's get some of these young guys in here instead of Lucas Patrick, and they're going to move on, then I think it's going to be a tougher, tougher business running the ball. And I think it's going to be a little tougher anyway, just because defenses will play a little differently if it's a new, first time starting quarterback versus Aaron Rodgers. So they'll gear up against the run a little more. And then the other part is if Bakhtiari's not there for a while, and then you got Turner out there trying to hold down one of the tackle spots, it's basically an open door just to the quarterback. So guys are going to be on Jordan Love fast. And will he be able to process information, go through his reads, and be elusive enough and have the pocket presence enough to not get creamed by those guys that just get in there in like 1 second, because the porous sections of the offensive line are going to give up quick pressures. So I think that's a lot to ask of a kid who got like almost no reps last year, who is, having to step into this starting role. I think that's a lot to ask of him. And if the Packers don't do a good evaluation of their O-line and they keep putting the Billy Turner burner out there, as Rick likes to say, it's gonna hurt them. They're gonna be exposed by that.
I'm starting to wonder. I don't know. I don't know if I'm convinced Rodgers isn't coming back.
What?
Listen, I don't think the Packers are going to trade him, and
they're not going to.
And I don't think he's willing to lose $35 million. I mean, Jesus, Uncle Jack, $35 million. You can't just be like, because that's one thing. Like somebody said, because I thought maybe they could waive those, even that type of thing, but you can't waive that fine.
Right.
So, that's what I heard this week, and I'm like, well, I mean, it's one thing to walk away. I mean, even that. That's the other thing. Like, I listened to you last night. Oh, Jace, I don't know what to do with you, man. But you scare me. Anyway,
you want me to get a picture of your favorite guy, Mark Murphy, your best friend?
No. It's not about Mark Murphy.
Oh, okay, all right.
It just seems like, I don't know if you think you relate to Aaron Rodgers, or you were talking about the people and the people and the people again last night. You and the Rodgers people and the people. Listen,
yep.
Anybody who walks away from almost $600,000 just because they want to try to prove a point, we as normal humans cannot relate to that. That would pay off my house, pay off my cars, probably pay for both of my kids' college educations. And this man, it's like nothing to him. You can't relate to that. He is a different person. He's not even a person. He's like a beyond person. If $600,000 doesn't bother him, that he's not getting that money that's supposed to be his, and he's like, whatever. You can't relate to that person. He's of a different mindset. So, and I don't know if he's willing to forego 35 million or what. I mean, I don't know if he's going to sit out like a week just to prove a point, and then show up at training camp after a week just to lose, a couple 100,000 or whatever. Or I don't know. But it blows my mind. Like, even Adrian Amos, they talked to Adrian Amos in the OTAs, right? They're like, Adrian Amos, they were talking about how Rodgers didn't show up. And like, well, you're a veteran, and can you tell us why you showed up, Adrian Amos? And he's like, yeah, I wanted my money. He was like straight up honest. He was like, yeah, I wanted the money that's owed to me because of my workout bonus. And I'm not dumb. I need the money. Even Adrian Amos.
Kenny Clark said that too.
Right.
Yep.
They're like, and I don't know what I'm sure their workout bonus wasn't 500,000. Maybe it was. I have no idea. But whatever it was, they're like, I'm showing up to get my money because even I, as a football player, can't relate to Aaron Rodgers, who apparently doesn't need $600,000. Okay. And that's fine. He's a gazillionaire and he doesn't need it. But to me, I don't understand that. You know,
No, I
I
get
mean,
it. I
I
get
can
it.
hold the grudge just like anybody else. But when it comes to money, like, dude, I'm showing up. Even if I show up and then I'm like, oh, my leg hurts. I can't do nothing. Sorry, guys. But
Oh,
you still pay me because I'm there. I'm still showing up. Like, look at Devontae. He showed up this week. His first day. He didn't do jack squat,
he
right?
didn't. He didn't. I don't think he did anything all week.
Right.
He just kind of did private work or solo workouts, working on stuff. His juke step or whatever is he was working on by himself.
So, so I'm getting at is this: if he is honestly willing to sit out, and Michael Florio said something earlier this week. He's like, it would be better for him to retire this year because he won't like owe back money, or he will owe back money or whatever it is, but it won't be like a fine or they're taking money. It's something like that. And then he can always just show up and be like, ah, and then still get paid. You know what I mean?
Ah, okay.
Where if he sits out, then the fine accumulates from the beginning of when he just doesn't show up. But if he retires like the day before training camp, there's no fine, right? He just retired, and then he would have to pay the excuse me, the money back, or he would get the money or whatever it is. But then he could show up like week 2 and be like, "I'm here, hey," and then they got to pay him, and then none of the fines matter anymore because anybody can just retire and then come back, and then that's a smarter move. Maybe he'll do that.
I get you. I mean,
But
I understand it.
it's just weird.
I
It's
just
just
don't
a,
think the thing is it's okay. I got a couple of chat things and then I'll get to that in just a second, but I want to just say I just don't think it's about the money because and I think he will sit. I don't think he'll come back for the money because I think and mom and I were talking about this today because she's like, "Oh, I don't know. You know, he's never really acted like this. I wonder about what's going on with him." And I'm like, "Look, he is he is engaged and in this relationship with a woman who is substantially younger than him and comes from kind of a different generation of people. You know, like younger people, it's in general, it's kind of an approach, especially if you're a privileged younger person, right? Like you're wealthy, you're young, and you're kind of looking at the situation and you're like, okay, if this is making you miserable, then just don't do what's making you miserable. You have made a bunch of money. You can do something else or you can choose not to do this. And I kind of feel like that mentality is probably what Shailene Woodley would potentially have. And you know, maybe it's like Rogers was unhappy and saying all this stuff and frustrated with the situation and maybe she just said, "Well, look, then just don't go. Then just stick up for yourself and do this. If this is the only thing you can do because you're kind of locked into this contract and all that stuff, then do the only thing you can do." And I think that's it's just a different mindset, you know, than a lot of us that are a little bit older don't necessarily have that mindset, or people like me and you and probably most people on here that aren't set with loads and loads of cash, like Zero points out, financially, you don't have that ability. But I'll tell you what, if I was in a situation where I felt like I had been crossed and that was and let's say that's what's happened, let's just say that that's the case, if that is truly the deal and you can't trust the front office and like Andrew Brandt said there's been a breach of trust or whatever, then and I was financially set, I would want to do the same thing. I would want to be like, you know what, this just isn't worth it to me, and I'm not gonna worry about the future monies and stuff like that. um okay, let's do some quick chat things here to get caught up. Zero does point out he's got loads of cash and his endorsements could do really well. We also got a new High Plains drifter in here with some comments. High Plains, how you doing? Mentioned State Farm. Also mentioned that when we were talking about the Rogers Devontae thing, he said Rogers spreads the ball around pretty well. In a lot of games, he does, and especially in the Devontae minus Devontae games, he did extremely well, and they won all those games. Right? Every game Devontae Adams has missed the last several years, the Packers have won. Let's see. Double Doink says Love looks fantastic and no pads against scripted defenses with no pass rush and no tackling. Well, that's going to be the key. That's going to be the real test. When you see him get some pressure on him and everything's tighter and guys are, breathing down his neck, how's he going to look? That'll be the test. But that's, you got to see what he's got. You got to let him play and see how it goes. That's why the offensive line is so important. Super, super, super important. Since I'm talking about O-line and Ben's muted, I'm going to go to a quick share here to show you something. And I'll read from it because I need to read it myself to refresh myself. But now, you guys know I love Lucas Patrick. I talked about him. PFF said this about Lucas Patrick last year. Lucas Patrick, according to PFF, and including the playoffs, Patrick allowed just 3 sacks on 650 pass blocking snaps, with 2 of the sacks coming in one game, week 15 against Carolina, where he struggled. So in all the other games, including the playoffs, Lucas Patrick allowed 1 sack. 1 sack. 650 pass blocking snaps.
And that was the game where he was playing at left guard.
Left guard, right. They said he I'm sorry, finish up.
I was just saying, so he was not playing his normal position.
Right.
And he was going up against the first round pick in that Brown kid who was like
a monster.
He was a monster. And Lucas was playing in a position he hadn't played all year. And then he lost his starting job after that. Remember?
Yep, for 1 week.
For one game. And then they were like, holy crap, we gotta get him back in there again. Or something like that. Maybe it was earlier where he lost the starting job. I can't remember exactly when it was.
No, it was that one game. He didn't start originally he did start in the Vikings game because of all the injuries. Otherwise, he wouldn't have started. And then the first game of the year. And then he did get benched for 1 game. I remember it.
Yeah,
Pissed me off. It was really stupid. You can't have a guy have 1 bad game and then bench him. That's just dumb. Otherwise, then why wasn't Billy Turner benched like 5 times during the year? I don't know. But anyway, whatever. All right, here's another couple thing. He would allow, and this is PFF stuff that I don't have, the ability to see. So I pulled it from this article. He allowed 21 total pressures, which ranked 12th among 86 eligible guards in pass blocking efficiency. Did you realize that?
Yep.
That's the guy they're talking about. Cast him aside. 12th out of 86 guards. Will you take a top 12 guard on your team? For some reason, they had him 31st out of 86 guards in run blocking, which I'm confused by that. But anyway, it's not a perfect science. But point is, he's pretty good and should probably still be a starter and should probably still be on the team.
It honestly makes no sense to think that they would take him out at all. And it just goes to show you, I don't know what the coaches are looking at.
I don't either.
Like when Mike Smith has his press conference, I just want to go. I'm screaming for somebody to be like, hey, how about all the plays where Zadarius Smith doesn't try? And then I would love to just show him, the play I love, the whole Rams against the Rams with Woods, who he's played patty cake with a 190-pound wide receiver. Doesn't penetrate at all, doesn't move the line of scrimmage, just stands there with them. I want to show Mike Smith that play and be like, dude, you're the coach of this guy. What is he doing here? How can you honestly say he is an awesome Pro Bowl player when he's doing this in a playoff game? And then see what his reaction is. And I want to show Matt LaFleur that play and say, hey, this is the leader of your defense, the highest paid guy. But like these reporters don't ask them about these plays. Maybe they don't see them. Maybe they don't watch the film, obviously, to know. I don't know. But that's the kind of stuff that drives me nuts. And Billy Turner, Lane stuff, and Corey Linsley, who I showed you on the first play of the game last week, he just runs up, sees the Levante David, and Olays him. In the NFC Championship game, first play of the game, you look like he's got cooties, and you don't want to touch him. What? How does that happen?
I,
And how are these guys not reprimanded for their play? And hopefully they are being. And I understand you don't want to be on, you know, with your PR guys talking with your, with the reporters and being like, my top player is slacking it. You don't want to go and say that. But if I was them, I wouldn't be on there going, oh yeah, he's awesome. He plays great. He's the best ever. And oh, it's so amazing to have him out there. I would be honest and I would say, you know what? He's making plays. He's making plays. But there's a couple times where he gets tired out there, and I got to make sure I get the rotation going because it seems like he does get tired every now and again, and he's not quite, you know, doing everything that I know he could do if he was at top shape. So maybe he's not quite, there, or he's getting tired, and I got to make sure the rotation's better. That's a way of saying publicly, hey, he slacked off on a couple plays. And you could say it's your fault because you didn't switch the guy out or whatever.
right.
And
Yeah.
you're not calling him out per se, but you are, but you're not, you know. And that's what I would like to see more of. Like after when I can't remember what game it was. It was one of the games where the Packers, where Aaron Jones didn't have a very good running game day, and it was, and I showed all the video. I think it was the Billy Turner game, whereas the Billy Turner problem video that we had.
Mm-hmm.
And after that game, LaFleur said something like, guys just weren't doing their assignments on the offensive line. And he was talking about how the guys weren't playing. And he said it for once, finally. Now, he didn't say Billy Turner isn't doing what he's supposed to be doing, which is what he should have said. He said guys aren't doing what he didn't call anybody out. And then, like you said, I watched Billy Turner's interview again this week when he shows up. God dang it, he just says all the right stuff.
He's awesome, right?
He always says all the right stuff. But you could say all the stuff you want when the tape don't lie, bros.
That's true.
The guy sucks.
He's a likable, awesome, insightful, intelligent guy, but he just doesn't perform well at playing offensive line at any spot, guard, tackle, anywhere. I don't care. He's shown you that for 2 years, 2 seasons. We've seen it. And we said it in 19 when we started to get on him. Like, we weren't on his case.
No, not nearly as bad as last year. Last year,
but we weren't on his case. I mean, we weren't making that stuff up. We were on his case because we're like, what is this? What is going on here? This guy keeps playing, and I don't see why, because you have to have guys that are better than this. I mean, I know you paid him money and all this, but come on, he's not performing, isn't it? This is a business. How many times I got to say, this is a business. It's about your performance. It's about what are you doing now, right? So come on. Double Doink says he hopes Josh Myers will be ready to start center. I think he's going to be. He's, they were working him there this whole offseason program stuff so far. He's going to be the center, man. The only alternative to that is if he gets injured or really struggles, Patrick center, and they take one of these other young guys and plug him in at guard. But maybe that would save Patrick to be on the team, or ensure that he would be. But Josh Myers is going to be the start. They drafted him to be the starting center, and they believe he can start right away. So that's definitely the plan.
Well, they need him to.
Right. He has to be. Wouldn't that have been something if they had signed Lindsley back and then still drafted him? That would have been. That would have followed the Goody trend.
That would have followed the Goody trend.
What? Come on. We freaked out about the Kevin King signing, but when you draft in a corner, you draft a corner in the first round, and you draft a corner in the 5th round, who's probably better. Both of them are better than Kevin King. You couldn't wait. You couldn't just put that one off. Like what? Oh God!
They can still cut Kevin King before the season starts. I don't know what his contract would be if they cut him. I have no idea. If it's like $1 million on the cap hit, if they cut him for his $5 million salary, if they save $4 million off it. But I don't know what the makeup of his contract is. But I don't think he's worth any money. They
It
should have
just
never signed back.
I know Bernard says he could be MVP, but I mean I think that I think that with all the guys, with the prospects of the drafts, with the guys you were looking at, and on top of that, you still got Jackson in the mix, you still got Kadar Holman in the mix, you still got all these different guys in the mix. At bare minimum, like we said, and that's we didn't want him back anyway, but to sign him at that point, to not wait until after the draft, come on. Zero says Kevin King is the reincarnation of Ahmad Carroll. He's pretty similar in his effectiveness at playing corner. Okay, well, we're gonna wrap.
That's not good.
We're gonna. Hey, but don't get me wrong. Kevin King is not the exception for the Packers. Kevin King is the commonality to the Packers drafting corners. They usually get him wrong. They've gotten many, 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 many early drafted corner wrong over our lifetimes for sure. I don't know about pre our lifetimes, but over our lifetimes, they drafted a lot of corners that didn't pan out early.
The two best corners over the last how many years were Doug Evans. What was he? I don't even know. 5th round pick or something?
6th rounder, I think.
6th round pick.
Yep.
Tramon Williams, a free agent signing.
Undrafted, free agent.
And Charles Woodson, a guy who the Raiders gave up on, and they got him as a steal free agent. Those are your three. Those are your three best corners, even though they've drafted about 25,000. I guess Mike McKenzie was pretty good. He was a 3rd round pick.
Yep. And he was the 3rd corner they drafted that year out of the guys.
And people are going to say Al Harris was good. Al Harris wasn't that good.
No.
He took a lot of chances and made a lot of plays that fans remember, but they don't remember how many times he took a chance and really, 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 really sucked.
Yeah. He does not belong in the Packers Hall of Fame, by the way. That's disappointing to me that he's in there.
In the Packer Hall of Fame?
He's going in, I think, this year with Charles Woodson or something like that.
Oh, is he? Well, William Henderson is in there, so apparently they let everybody in there.
Dang it. All right. Hey, I got one quick thing before we go. Now, so the Packers wrapped up minicamp. It's kind of the lull in the season. It's kind of where you make up stuff to talk about. And Zero says our best safety in team history is currently in prison. Who's that? I'm missing it. I don't know who that is. Tell me, Zero. I'm not up on it enough.
Chuck Cecil?
Chuck Cecil?
Is he in prison?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't know who the best safety in Packers history was. I know Nick Collins could have been one of the best if he wouldn't have had a shortened career because he was really, really, really good.
LeRoy Butler's in prison?
Butler's good? I don't think so. He's on the radio. He got some Ford dealerships. Oh, Sharper Image. Yeah, that's right.
Darren Sharper.
He was not the best safety in team history. He was pretty good for a while, for sure. I mean, he made plays and he did some things for the Packers for sure. But I mean, saying the best in team history, come on. He wasn't better than Nick Collins. I'm sorry, man. And let's see, who else?
They played Mike Pryor over him sometimes because they needed to be a sure-handed guy back there.
But definitely, I mean, Nick Collins was better than him. And trying to think of other safeties. There were safeties before that too. They were super good. Like the old time safeties were good. So, but hey, the Packers have been pretty dry at safety too. That's what we hope. Savage becomes like an elite safety if that works out. All right, we're gonna wrap it up, but I do have something for you. So we're to that point of the season where we're doing some different things. So next week I got something a little fun planned. Now I spent some time here recently. I've almost wrapped it up. I spent some time going through a number of our videos. I downloaded a bunch of the lives off of YouTube and combed through some of it. I didn't go through all of it. It would have taken too long, but I got limited time. And I'm putting together, which we will all watch together next week. And Ben and I will take some pauses and we might comment on how stupid we were or hey, that was pretty good or entertaining or whatever. We will watch the Hafeman Bros highlights volume 1 next Friday night. So join us for that. We'll be
Well,
on live talking,
we
but
have
we'll also
to
have our Hafer Bros highlights. Yes, what?
we have to get back to having fun because this whole
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers thing has made us this whole offseason. We've all been grumpy, and it's been like people don't want to come and watch us grump about crap on Friday night. I don't even want to do it. I'm sick of it. I want to have fun. I can remember last year we had all these terrible things going on,
Yep.
you
Yeah.
know, with the COVID-19 and the Greg or George Floyd stuff going on and all this crazy terrible things. And we still found ways to be serious and have good shows about important information and important situations, important topics, but then also, have a good time and just, the Brews and Bros thing was fun. We were just hanging out like, like that was when we got found by Balaz, and he was like, "You guys are like Pat McAfee. You're all crazy," and we were having fun and just having fun. And this whole off season has been no fun.
That's true.
Like all we've been doing is complaining and grumping, and it's like I'm sick of it. So we gotta have fun again. Plus, I got Ben's top 10 quarterbacks I got to do. Because Chris
Woo!
Sims has been doing his top quarterbacks this last couple weeks, and I got to do that. And then I'll do my top 10 running backs right now: Aaron Jones, 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 1 through 10 once again. So that'd be all. We don't
Ah.
have to do that. Oh wait, AJ Dillon is number 10. Aaron Jones is 1 through 9. AJ Dillon number 10.
That's good. Yeah, we got some other stuff planned. Let's do that. But next week is going to be because I spent a whole bunch of time on it already. So dang it, next week we're going to go over the highlights, Hafeman Bros highlights, volume 1. And if I get more time, there'll be a volume 2 because I didn't get to include everybody. I tried to get at least some appearance from most of our guests, regular guests and stuff like that. But mostly it's been me, goofing around or having fun or flying off the handle or being entertaining. And sometimes it's a little bit of football stuff and Packer stuff, but mostly it's most of our more fun, more lighthearted moments. So we'll give you some of that. Mom does point out Willie Wood, best Packer safety ever. And that's probably we're gonna have to believe Mom on that one, but that's probably true.
Yeah, we weren't around.
Willie Wood. And High Plains says yes, Willie Wood. So we'll go with that. Mom says Wood. Sorry, excuse me. I was a teenager there for a second. Wood, best player ever, or best ever, not best player ever. Sorry. Gosh, I can't even read.
Well, he might be best player ever. Who knows?
He could be. He was awesome. A lot of those old Packers, some of them still alive. They're awesome, man. All right. That's all I got. Ben's video. I've been putting up this picture of you this whole time. See this? You probably can't see it. There it was, though. Well, now I don't see your video anymore. Would you turn it off?
Yeah.
Jeez,
Did I look bad? I don't know. I don't think I showed up on the screen. That's good.
All right. Ooh, Rick wants to know how Stokes' legs compare to yours. We'll have to do a side-by-side of that as well for one of these upcoming shows.
Why
So,
you're skinny?
If you really want serious Packer talk, go elsewhere for the next few weeks because we're probably just going to do some more goof around stuff. We might have some fun stuff. We'll pick one of the shows, be a trivia night. And I don't know what kind of trivia yet. We'll try to get Nick back. Maybe we'll do a Nick and Rick trivia. Nick and Rick trivia. Try to stump them. I can throw in some Raiders trivia as well in there. And hey, one other thing. I listened to Kirk Cousins had a long interview this week. And yeah, he's looking forward to. I think it's going to be a good season. So he's excited about the Vikings.
Holy crap.
Kirk Cousins is a good dude. Wish him some success. All right. Zero says, see you next week. Enjoy the weekend. All you guys take care. Be well. Catch you next week. Go